Good afternoon, everyone. It is a great pleasure to be a part of AURP Week. It's simply amazing. For us, it's really the chance to present 9 years of research and development in partnership with various incubators and companies in Quebec, in Canada. It is also a chance to launch our new company name, Synecdo. I am especially pleased to be able to speak about the theory behind our social innovation in such an impressive network as AURP. Today, I will talk about what needs to change in companies and organizations facing the reskilling problem and how academia, researchers, and economic development leaders should be on the front line of the solution. So let's start. Well, um, First of all, about the Reskilling Revolution. As defined by the World Economic Forum, it is a solution to the rise of inequality and polarization amid an ever evolving technology world. It is said that more than 1 billion jobs are going to be transformed by the technology of the fourth industrial revolution. In less than 2 years, in 2022, 42% of core skills required to perform an existing job are expected to change. The need for reskilling and upskilling the workforce is there. And if we succeed in a well-structured implementation, we could improve the lives of millions of people. So about training in organization. Well, training in organization, it has been used as a way to acquire technical skills for decades. Business owners would usually buy a piece of technology, buy a new machine, a new robot that would either accelerate the manufacturing process or limit the waste or cut into labor cost. From there, the IT department, if the company is big enough, or an external firm would implement the tool and teach the workforce how to use it. So in that script, the employees are supplied with training on the new. They are supplied on training on the new method or the new process or the new technology, the new robot, and management intend them to reach the goals they set with the technology provider. We all know that the future of manufacturing includes IoTs. It is well documented that the Internet of Things enables rapid new products. It allows a dynamic response to the client needs and real-time optimization. That's only a few possibilities for IoTs, but of all those opportunities, only there's more than 69% of business owners that yeah, there's more than 69% of business owners that as their first motivation for IoT's investment um, is to cut labor costs. And that even though 75% of investment in IoT result in more expenses than planned. So as you can see, the organizational structure that was passed on to us shows some weakness where there's no communication between the top of the pyramid and the bottom line. It is 4 out of 5 elements that will impact the success of introducing IoTs in a business that are directly linked with training, organizational culture, and outside ecosystem that directly support organization with their individual challenge. Training can be something different than just a means to an end. It can be an opportunity to deeply change company structure and processes around the human factor. It is the best moment to reinvent how we work and form an active learning organization around the workforce that composes it, and not only focus on the visible symptoms of reskilling need. We need to step out of the organizational silos vision, train the workforce with transferable knowledge, um, so train the workforce with transferable knowledge, basic knowledge of the working world, like what's creating value and what is not creating value in terms that they will use and they will understand, and finally allow them to understand the real impact they can have and how to fully accomplish themselves inside a company. With that approach, an improvement of just 10% global social mobility, which can be achieved through training, will boost the American economic growth by at least 5% in less than a decade. But if you want organization to achieve that goal, fully reskilling millions of people, we need a drastic change in philosophy to assure that the sparkle fully ignites. We want to reach a point where the organizational structure allow the employees to learn what they really need, a point where they fully understand the value of continuous improvement, and where every training and every new skills learned has a direct calculable impact on the organization and on the lives of the worker. That kind of goal needs a powerful ecosystem of experts around it, so they can answer the company demands in training and help them faces their challenges. I'll go through the other key factor, and by the end of this session, I'll tell you exactly our approach to reach all those goals. Let's imagine two different businesses. It can be a plant or any other organization. It doesn't matter. In the first one, you get the CEO. He enters the office and sees a few employees in a circle talking together. He goes straight to the group and tells them, "Go back to your workspace. It's not break time yet. You should be working." A few hours later, he receives an email telling him there's a problem X, and the employees don't know what to do with it. So the CEO has to find a solution by himself. Our second business, the CEO goes straight to the circle as the same as the first one, and he says, "Hey guys, what's going on?" One of the person in the circle just answer, "Well, Stephanie just came up with a great idea on this problem we keep facing. We'll present a solution to you in the continuous improvement committee." In those two examples, which leader would you rather be, or which company would you rather have in your park or community? The one where there is 100 set of arms but only one brain that needs to break down every problem, or the one with 100 brain cracking problems on their own? To achieve a successful reskilling revolution, and to make sure it is the last time that the world needs to make such a drastic switch in such a hurry, we need to question the top-down pyramidal structure. It is the biggest challenge, and it affects every aspect of a company, from the motivation of the workers, to the productivity, to the success or failure of learning strategies, implementation of new technologies or processes. It changed everything. In our Western reality that puts us in a competitive position for talent, we need companies with culture based on the human factor, and that allow the humans inside the companies to take action, basically. We all heard about HR marketing or the trend to have a skate ramp in the office. Those actions can be nice, but at the end of the day, the question is, what would the workers really want? Even if companies show off their great office, there will be challenges without a well-prepared structure. With all the studies about the need of a culture oriented on the human capital, absenteeism still costs American employers $225.8 billion per year. That amount of money is basically because employees take fake sick leaves, for example. The most interesting fact is that in many studies, it shows that Americans are happier than other workers across the world when asked about work. So how can you get one study that shows that American companies are losing billions of dollars, but on the other end, American employees are the happiest with a 93% overall employee happiness indicator? The answer is simple. It totally depends on the size of the business. Small and medium enterprise do not have the possibility to invest in a HR rep who focuses only on employee engagement. It is too expensive. But what those employees need isn't expensive at all. They need a sense of purpose and meaning, and the possibility to take action. This is exactly why we want to create a workforce who is fully autonomous and empowered to take action on their own engagement. It would be cheaper and better for motivation. But for that, you need the basic learning. So that's why training is so important. And even for bigger companies, the switch to an organization based on human value adding would increase the capability of the workforce to take action directly, quickly, without needing to ask a superior. The workforce would be motivated. The workforce would be motivated, empowered, and then trained after. Communication will flow across organizational silos with only one goal: eliminating, eliminating all waste around the responsibilities of the workers. Technology would be implemented by the workforce that have found that there is a need for it, for the technology, and that they will use it because they want it. For us at Snegdo, we manage that change of culture with serious gaming. So the serious game we use is basically a technology that we develop that allow us to explain through experience the basic components of a business. The game is just a big sandbox where the players can build the company they want and discovers by themselves the best practices and their impact. From there, we can assess the team's efficiency, their soft skills need, and their hard skill needs. The beauty of it is really that we only create a situation that allows anybody, no matter of his social economical background, to fully understand the basics of value creation. And to fully grasp how it all happens, you are missing one final key. It is the part that we needed to develop so that big companies would stop laughing at me when I was talking about serious gaming that would change cultural aspect of the company and increase productivity. That key factor is putting the human factor into dollars and into a key productivity indicators. Just before I talk about the KPIs, I forgot there's one more slide. It's the slide about productivity, which is really important because the evolution of productivity and the concept behind productivity is closely entangled with technology revolution and therefore training problems. It's not called the productivity puzzle for nothing. In advanced economies such as the US, the total factor productivity has fallen to zero growth since 2008. When experts and scientists talk about productivity, it's usually the number of hours worked divided by the total worth of the services or the goods produced. It's easy to see that in that formula, if you increase the amount of good you can create, if you increase the amount of goods you can create per hour, you would have more revenue and then increase productivity. But once you reach the full potential of a machine or the full potential of your labor force, what do you do? Do you remember the first CEO I mentioned in my story a little bit earlier that went into his company and was unhappy that all his employees were not at the workplace? Well, it's because they weren't producing, they weren't doing quantifiable operational work. He was just putting a lot of pressure on his workforce. And that is one of the big mistakes because it blends production with productivity. Productivity on the individual worker scale is about creating the most value possible in the amount of time given, depending on what the responsibilities are. It's not only about the number of tasks you can do in a week. One great example I have is in the healthcare system here in Quebec province. As some of you might know, we have universal healthcare, and every once in a while, governments and healthcare director try to cut into different costs, which is quite normal because it's really expensive. In that example, they went for a classic productivity firm, consulting firm. The firm came up with a standard time per patient kind of ratio. So every doctor would have a maximum of 30 minutes per patient. That example, the worker of the healthcare system brought that into federal court because it caused more damages. It caused damages to a few patients who needed more care than the 30 minutes of medical assessment that they were allowed to give. You see that in that case, it is quite clear because it's a matter of life and death. It is clear that if the doctor would have been in control of his time, backed by the management, who agree that he is the expert, that he can spend as much time as he wants with his patient, because that's where his value creation is for society, well, that problem wouldn't have happened. Plus, it usually leads the worker, in that case a doctor, to tell us what are the pains in his work. No doctor spends years and years studying just to waste half a day into report writing. Focusing on the human value adding is a way to highlight the non-value adding activities. So as you can see, the classical view on productivity would be to accelerate what's creating value, the production of goods or services. But that mentality has a breaking point, and that's why we propose a measurement tool that eliminates the non-value adding activities instead and doesn't overpressure the workers. It doesn't overpressure them to the point where their mental health is at risk or the quality of the work. It allows them to focus on goals, responsibilities, without any need of controls from manager on the task or steps to reach those goals or achieve those responsibilities. Um, just one final thing about productivity. There's a study from the International Monetary Fund that showed that the key factor that reduces productivity growth is the aging of the population and the slower advances in education. That mixed with the economic behavior since the great financial crisis of 2008 that has weakened capital investment into the implementation of technical advances. I think that it is just one more study that brings us to the side of trying something different that shows the importance of education and that change oriented on humans and social innovation instead of technologies and tasks would be a vessel for productivity growth. But to reach that goal, we will need measurement. Measurement will be our best tool because information is the second most important resources in an organization after the human factor. The key to oops, sorry for that. The key to a real transformation and the key for a successful rescaling is enabling the workforce to take autonomous actions. To do so, we need KPIs that they understand and that they can use daily or when it's needed. The basic KPIs of today are mainly made by are mainly made so that management can measure what's happening in the organization and follow the return on investment of actions. The only problem, there's usually no determined ROI on training. The rating of a training in the workspace is usually the satisfaction of the learners afterwards and their ability to reach a passing grade. If a skill is really needed, we should be able to predict its real impact on the profitability of the company. If leadership training is needed, it should allow the organization a productivity growth, therefore eliminating a non-value adding process and solve problems. Because without that, what's the point? How can you say that training is the right one without any kind of measurement? Is it only because organizational psychologists and neuroscience tells you, or is it a trend or something like that? Because if it is, well, it's actually a problem, and we should solve it. The KPIs for culture, the absenteeism and turnover, are just another example of the source of the organizational problem. The top of the pyramid wants to know what's happening. Absenteeism and turnovers are good KPIs for leaders to measure where they stand, but it should not be our only one, the only one. What would be a great KPI is the number of projects led by workers. How many people are mobilized for your organization? How many hours is invested into transforming the organization? How many projects have been successful and brought pride to the teams? Finally, instead of measuring the speed of an operation, we should measure the impact of the non-value adding activities. That's how we can measure, no matter the job or the economic sector, the human value adding process. We calculate by finding with the worker the non-value adding activities around their responsibilities in Word they can understand. For that, we use an app. It's a visual mapping of the responsibilities of the worker that they draw themselves. In that app, after training on the basic kind of waste and non-value adding activities, the app helps the workers to quantify the impact of those activities in terms of money and time, so they can literally see the amount wasted and propose some solution or ask for help if they don't find any solution by themselves. So there you go, a new model of organizational transformation for the Reskilling Revolution. It's a method based on continuous demand pull training and empowerment in continuous improvement actions led by workers and real KPIs that send the right information to the decision makers about what needs to change, about what kind of training the workforce needs, and about the non-value adding activities that are canceled. That bottom-up communication will break the crystal barrier. It will bring the two levels of people to the same speaking ground and give them the right pulse on the situation. So basically, this new method, it's really the potential and the start of a spinning wheel based on the possibility of upgrading every aspect of an organization with measurable impacts and be leaders of social change. It can increase the employees' self-esteem. It stimulates the continuous improvement. It creates bottom-up communication and can better prepare organizational transformation, digitalization, and IoT's implementation. But this all starts from the leaders. It all starts with decision makers. The management needs to be ready for that kind of change and believe in the importance of the human factor. Those decision makers need a community of experts. They need to be followed so that the workforce is fed the training they want and better prepare themselves for the cruel reality of reskilling before it hit them and the company's profitability is put at risk, before their jobs are put at risk. That's why I was so pleased to be presenting our social innovation work with the AURP communities. Because you have the structure, the network to take those organizations by the end and help them achieve the reskilling revolution of achieve this reskilling revolution and focus on the human factor. So I just wanted to thank you, and I'll move a little bit so you can see the thank you actually. There you go. Just wanted to thank you for your attention, and I hope that my bad English mixed with my French accent wasn't too bad for you. I hope it wasn't actually as bad as it was for me to hear myself. Anyway, I tried to make this session as clear and as fun and interactive as possible with the limited time and the span of the subject. Anyway, I'll be connected in a few seconds for a quick question and answer session, and don't hesitate to interact with me, and I will have some document actually as a quick takeaway so you could start some work by yourself, starting to ask yourself some question and the leaders around you to prepare for the reskilling that is coming. And for those of you who would be interested, I'll be able to send you maybe next week a template for calculating your human overall effectiveness and the human overall effectiveness of those around you. Thank you very much.